6:30, so we'll get started. We kind of have a lot to cover and hopefully good information, and you guys have questions and we can get those answered while we're on the call. I do have Emma Slattery on the call. She is the new Amanda, so you guys have been, a lot of you have probably been emailing back and forth with her, sending your athlete paperwork to her now, as she is the program support manager. Just wanted to give you a chance to put a face to the name and to get more familiar with her, as she'll be the person who does all of our athlete paperwork and registrations and all of that. So another just kind of housekeeping at Sony. I don't know if everybody knows or if it was sent out to the field or not, but our Steph Sorensen, our Director of Health and Community Services, has left. Her last week was last Monday. So I know there's a lot of new people, but there will be a new health and communities person starting here hopefully in the next month or so. So keep an eye out for that. But if you've emailed her in the last week and haven't got a response, that's probably why. So you can reach out to Nate if you have any questions about that. All right. Since we do have a lot to cover, I'll start. So I said this one will be all things paperwork. So first, just going over again what is required. I'll be sharing my screen basically the whole time, so that everybody gets an idea of what I'm talking about. So we'll start with, athlete paperwork. Can everybody see my screen? Is athlete paperwork up? Okay. All right. So the athlete registration has pretty much stayed the same of what we're requiring for paperwork. So we will still be requiring, sorry, my internet's going a little slow. That registration page, that front page of the athlete paperwork, all of the necessary information. We've had an influx of people not putting birth dates when they submit paperwork, or maybe putting the current date. We've gotten a lot of people putting the day they're filling it out instead of their birth date there. So we just want to make sure all of this information is complete when paperwork gets turned into us. Same thing with athlete code of conduct, making sure that not only has the athlete or their parent or guardian signed it, but they've also dated it, so we can enter it into our system. Again, same with this athlete release form, having the name, date, everything on that. And then as far as COVID paperwork, just a reminder that we are no longer doing the COVID code of conduct. We're just requiring this COVID release of liability waiver. So when you submit paperwork for COVID, the only one that is needed is the waiver. So same with the athlete or the unified partner registration, just making sure all of this information is being filled out so that we can correctly enter them into GMS when they register. Then all unified partners have to fill out this Class A and unified partner registration form. Again, making sure it's signed, dated, all of that stuff. Athlete code of conduct, again, making sure it's signed, dated, and then just that waiver. So that'll be all now. It's just all in one form. So you just have all the paperwork in one spot instead of having to go to multiple links to find it. And then basically all the same stuff for the coaches, just making sure that Class A unified registration is filled out. And then this is where sometimes it gets a little confusing and why some people might show as inactive on the missing paperwork report is if you are coaching and you are a unified partner, you have to do both the coach's code of conduct and the athlete code of conduct. Sometimes we'll get people who only do the missing paperwork, or only do the unified partner athlete code of conduct and don't do the coaches, but they're coaching and being a unified partner. So just want to make sure that those are both getting filled out if someone joins your team and is planning to do both. And then that waiver as well for COVID, and no more, again, COVID code of conduct. All right. Do we have any questions about that? Should all be pretty familiar with it by now. I don't think too much has changed, just that COVID paperwork. So if anybody has questions about that, obviously we will still accept the code of conduct if you have it in your files and send it over, but it is no longer being required as a form to participate. The other thing, Emma, I'm going to make you a co-host so that you can admit people as they come in. It's a little distracting to be off the screen and then try and admit people. So, all right. I'll go back to sharing my screen. Just wanted to make sure nobody had any questions. All right, so now we're going to talk about the flyers that I sent out earlier this month, or last month, I guess. And these kind of came about after our last meeting about coaches' recruitment and retention. And someone had brought up that it would be nice to have just kind of a one pager that breaks down a little bit more of what each person type is required to have and kind of a little more information they can give to new people joining their team. So as you can see here, this one is for our athletes. It kind of breaks down about what being an athlete is, what that commitment looks like. Here is all the requirements. So the medical form, and then this one links directly to the online registration form. So it'll link to, and you'll see the registration form, the athlete code of conduct, the athlete consent form, and then that COVID waiver. So if they go to this link and fill it out, they will have completed all the required paperwork forms besides that medical form. If you guys want to print these and take them to practice with you and give them to parents or anybody, they can scan this QR code and it will take them again to that online form where they can quickly get that submitted. Just a breakdown of what the year looks like, traditional competition year looks like, and then some frequently asked questions that we've been getting. And then the unified partner one, it looks very similar. Zoom out so we can see it all. Again, just what being a unified partner, what that commitment looks like, what a year looks like being a unified partner. You'll see all the red asterisks. Those are just indicating if that sport is offered in unified or not. Again, here are the requirements for being a unified partner. So this will link directly to the Protective Behaviors website. This links directly to the background check website. Any sports-specific trainings, this is not linked, or it is linked, and they can take some just unified specific courses if someone is interested to better understand what being unified partner is about. And then this one, again, links to that online registration form that will allow them to fill out the registration, category A, and the athlete code of conduct, and that communicable disease waiver. Some frequently asked questions again. In case people are asking, you can always just direct them to this. And then last but not least, our coaches one. Obviously, this goes for HODs as well. Again, about the commitment of being a coach, the requirements, everything they'll need to complete in order to be a coach, schedule, frequently asked questions. Again, hopefully this can be a good tool to use for you guys as you onboard new people, and even as you have people who need to renew paperwork or whatever. If someone turned 19 on your team, they can just fill out this online form really quick and get renewed in about 2 minutes. It sends it directly. The information goes directly to us and it comes back in that fillable form. So it just populates whatever they fill out on that online form. It populates on the fillable forms that you would turn into us anyway. And so it looks just like if they were to fill out the fillable registration forms or physical forms. All right. Any questions about the flyers? Has anybody any feedback on them, I guess? It's been about a month that they've been rolled out. I can say since we put them out, I've probably had 100 unified partners update their paperwork, about 25 coaches. And Emma, how many athletes do you think we've had fill out the online form?
Probably around 50.
50, yeah. So I hope it seems to be, when they do fill it out, it seems to be going well. It makes that process a little smooth. Yes.
So when they fill out the paperwork, does that go directly to you? You have access to that, or because
Yep.
it seems
So
like in the past things have been not lost or have been lost and or you don't get it or something.
Yeah, I think it's, hopefully I can kind of share a little bit so it's so you guys get a better idea of what it looks like on our end. Someone put in so where these are located. I'll go over where these are located on the website in just a moment, and then school-based, we're working on a school-based one. So if any of our community teams are getting involved with their schools, it's a good resource to hand out to educators. But we're working with our new UCS people to get one put together for schools. It's a little not different, but what they do is just looks a little different. So we're trying to get it tailored to schools. Yeah, as far as losing paperwork, whatever, I'll get my screen back up and share what this will kind of look like on our end. I can do, let me see. Am I sharing my screen? Nope. Okay. Here we go. So kind of an idea of what this looks like on our end is when someone completes the online registration form, it gets put into these buckets. If they're new, we can go through and enter them into GMS. There's a drop down when they fill it out that says re-registering. So they've turned 19 or whatever. And then it just kind of comes back. We can see all of this information that they filled out. This is all the same information that we would ask for on the physical forms. And then it comes back as also an attachment that we are happy if you guys don't get it to provide it to you, but we can I can just open it and show you. So it comes back as a pre-populated document with all of that required information. So it's nice for us. It's kind of all in one spot. And then, so it's easy for us to just search by last name. And then we know for sure that it was sent to us, that we got the important information. If you guys, it says at the bottom for whoever completes the online forms to forward it to a coach if they have one. If they don't, for whatever reason, if we see it's kind of a trend that people aren't forwarding it on to their coaches, I can see this is the Bears, so I can just shoot you an email quick and say this to Tom Jadlowski, since it's the Bears, and send it to Tom and say this person filled out the online registration form. Here's their paperwork. The other, yes.
Are the codes in the background check area too?
So they are, once someone completes whichever registration it is, it'll direct them to another page that we'll let them know what they still need to complete. It's either
Okay.
their protect. So if they're a unified partner, we'll direct them to a page that says, "You filled out the registration forms. Please complete the protected behaviors and the background check." Um, that so there's a few reasons why we're looking at kind of changing up how we do protected behaviors and the background check. For me on my end, what I get a lot of is a lot of people doing maybe the protected behaviors, but when I get that, when that comes across my email, it doesn't tell me what team they're with, so I don't know who to place them with
Oh.
if that's the only if I don't have them in my system already. So if I don't have their paperwork, all I have is their name. Maybe sometimes if they put in their address, an address for them, and that they completed the back protected behaviors. But I don't know age, gender, um, delegation, anything that's like really important when we're entering people into GMS to know so that we can place them with the right people, make sure that they're when we start divisioning people, that's kind of the trend you might start have seen lately of we have a lot of people in our system that are 123 years old, and that is because when either if you put them at the bottom of your spreadsheet when you register a team and we don't have their age, or if someone fills out a background check or protected behaviors, I don't know how old they are. We've been putting people in as 0101 1900 because it's kind of a red flag to us to know that they're missing something or we need more information. We did it using my birthday, so there's a lot of people that are 29 years old in our system from a few years ago, but we kind of realized with that when we would register people, they were maybe 12 and then getting divisioned in an older division because 29 years old didn't jump out to us as being off or weird, so then we were just divisioning them. So what I would really like is for people to complete those forms first before completing protected behaviors. And then on top of that, I know a lot of people have been struggling with the background checks requiring codes and everything. How we might start doing it, and I'll keep you guys posted. But a background check, we pay for those. It's not an exorbitant expense or anything by any means, but it is just something we pay for. And if someone only does the background check because they found it on the website and then nothing else, then we paid $6 to $10 for them to complete a background check, but they're never going to do anything beyond that with our programs. So it would give me a better idea of who's actually participating and who's going beyond just completing the checklist of paperwork, who's actually doing all the other requirements besides protected behaviors in the background check. So that's just one thing. And then it can kind of take the coaches out of being the middleman of getting them those good deed codes that it's been asking for. And I will just start letting people know once they've completed their paperwork and their protected behaviors and they're over the age of 19, then they need to still do their background check to be an active participant with Special Olympics Nebraska. So there's a few one question. Can you explain the restrictions for school volunteers helping during their sports season, not acting as a unified partner, but a volunteer for our local team? Explanation of what Burke did last year. So yeah, I think there's a few people who are using students as volunteers, and that's great. We talked about it last month about tapping into those resources if you have them for coaches. And I know we say not acting as if they are just a team volunteer, that just like showing up to practice, helping with the athletes, but they don't travel with the team and they're not coming to state competitions, then they would be considered like a category B volunteer and they would just need to complete the paperwork. I have some category B. I always say it's easier to just register as a unified partner, just in case someone wants to participate. It just kind of covers all of our bases. And especially if they're school aged, most of them don't need to complete. If they're under the age of 16, they don't need to do the protected behaviors or the background check. So it's really just filling out those unified partner registration forms. Did that answer your question,
Yeah,
Kirsten?
Taylor, what happened last year with Burke and an athlete getting in trouble then, and the possibility of losing scholarships or whatever, that's what was confusing last year.
Oh,
It's better that they don't register as a unified partner if they're not competing, right? As a unified partner,
Mhm.
volunteering, with practices. So
yeah.
maybe helping to coach for a competition, but most likely not.
Yeah. So what happened with that situation, and especially with schools, so before we were trying to make it easier on schools and not requiring the same requirements to attend a school-based event that we would host. But we are requiring all that same paperwork. So what happened there was really just a lack of communication between the administration and the teachers at Burke, because he was competing as a unified partner in that basketball game playing, but he got it as an idea, and the coach, I think, had that he was just volunteering to help, but he wasn't helping. He was playing as a unified partner, and with it being basketball season and playing in a different, it's NSAA rules, really. It's not anything with us. It was more the NSA has rules like you can't do league volleyball during high school volleyball season.
Right.
And Unified was considered a league, kind of a league event.
Okay.
During their during their high school season.
So they look at it just as club play. You can't do club swim at the same time you're doing high school swim.
Yes.
So
yep. That's
okay. Because we love to have our student volunteers, and they do sometimes help during their season.
Yeah.
No, but
and
not
if they are participating in a volunteer basis, but if they're gonna like be swimming at state and earning a medal and swimming at competitions and stuff, then that's different.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It wouldn't be
Okay.
unified.
Thank you for clarifying. Yeah,
Yep,
going
no
into the
problem.
season. Thank you.
Yep. But yeah, so that was kind of an overview. So on our website, I will share my screen again and kind of show you, hopefully make it less confusing where everything is and keep you guys from having to scroll through the website to try and find stuff. What we have done is share one more time. Is when you go into the website, if someone asks you where to register or how to get involved, if you need to find the paperwork. So it's now just all under the get involved. So when they go to become an athlete, like they can go, and then here's that online registration form. They don't have to really click around. I might just, oops. So there is an option, as you can see too, is if people have completed their paperwork and want to submit it this way, they can always do that. And then it just will allow them sorry, it wasn't popping up at the bottom to just drag and drop medical or any paperwork they filled out prior to getting online. But say I'm with Papillion, new. And it will make you, that's one thing, it makes you do it in that year format. So we'll do the office. This is optional, but people can select what sports either they're going to be participating in, or if they're a new athlete, what sports they're interested in. If they fill it out what they're interested in, it just helps us to place them better with teams that actually offer the sports they want to compete in. This one is required, but there is always the prefer not to answer option. So if people read the athlete code of conduct, this is the same as what would be on those forms. If they are a minor, they would just select yes, and then you'd have to submit their or parent or guardian information, we're going to put no. Signature date, just today's date, and verifying that that's your electronic signature and it works like as that. Athlete release, same thing. If they marked above that they were a minor, just making sure the parent or guardian sees it and is signing off. What's nice and what I've realized and what does help is having these things required it doesn't allow them to move on unless they've answered all of those questions. Because like I said, some people are either people turn in their paperwork and it'll have everything but the athlete code of conduct, or it'll have everything but the registration page with all of their information. So this kind of doesn't allow them to go through it without submitting the information that we need to know. So here it just says send a copy to yourself. And then they're supposed to be forwarding it on to you, but they can also, I'll send it to Emma, but they can send it to their coach if they want. And then they just submit, and that's all without leaving that page of the website. And so they would just have to renew. Same thing with the unified partner. It's all right there so they can see it. And then once they hit submit, it will direct them to fill out the protective behaviors and that background check. And then here it says if they've already filled out this information, they can complete the partner trainings. So that's the protective behaviors, and it just takes them to that same page where they can complete the protective behaviors or that background check.
Okay, if you're re-registering for a team,
Mhm.
does it doesn't allow you to put that team, does that just come up and you'll figure it out? Because it doesn't ask for your prior team.
It asks for the state program you're joining. So if they're re-registering, we would just say then up here at the top where it says state program name, just list the program they're going to be joining. When we go through our records, we could see their old team, but we'll change it to whatever team is listed on
Okay.
this. And so too, if people don't have a team, they can just put Omaha, and then we know they're looking to be placed on a team in the Omaha area.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? It looks like some questions are in the chat. Yes. Yes. So I will get to the paperwork I've kind of created. I'm getting a lot of questions, so I might just move forward with that. Is the new coach's dashboard. I don't know if everybody was on this call last week when I brought it up and kind of showed an example of what one could look like, but this is something I kind of put together to maybe take the place of the coach's portal to make it a little more user-friendly. So let me go. So right now, actually, let me see. Right now, it is in the coach's portal so that you guys can easily access it. So right here where it says coach's dashboard up at the top, when you open that, it will bring you to the Sony coach's dashboard. And it might look a little overwhelming at first, but it's just all the same information that we put up in the coaches portal, but just less really having to click around to try and find stuff or go to the right button and then read. It's just a little more straightforward, I would say. So right here, this is one of the forms that I had sent out that we would like to have everybody fill out by the end of the year, that I so far only have about 30 people. So it's right here for you to fill out. Pretty easy, front and center. Can submit it right through here. Then all of the upcoming competition information. So you'll see the registrations are still up just to kind of demonstrate what it could look like. Registrations, meal signups, again, registrations, Once schedules start to come out, meal signups continue, heat sheets are put out, this is where all that information would be. So it would just be, you would see it right as you open the dashboard. Then as you scroll down, it's kind of all of the same information again that's in that portal, just a little more straightforward. So you'll see all the missing paperwork reports. The only thing that's a little different when you go to, and it's the same, it should just be just as easy, but when you want to view one of the files that are in here, you'll just click and it will take you to something like this, where then you can download to your desktop from here instead of downloading direct, since it doesn't download directly to your lap or to your computer, but you'll get a page like this and then you'll just have to download it from there. Same thing with PDF. These ones you'll just up here at the top, you can download it onto your computer, very similar to what happens in the coaches portal. All of that required paperwork and training is linked right here. So if you ever need quick access to the registration form, the athlete medical form, any of the online registration forms that we just went over, they're also linked here. And then all the links to the protected behaviors and the concussion training. It looks like the background check is missing, so I'll get that added on here. But you'll see the competition calendar, any sports resources and rules from our website are linked, and then training videos that are linked to Special Olympics resources page where they have sport specific trainings listed on there if anyone's interested in taking any of those. It was also mentioned in our last meeting that, again, like I said at the beginning, we've had some new employees join, some people leave, so it'd be nice to know who everybody is and what to reach out to them for. So here's just kind of a staff directory of who everybody is, their job title, email, and then anything you might, if you have questions. So me, you would reach out to me for unified paperwork, coaches paperwork, or volunteering. Amanda Mancuso, if you have any marketing or branding or social media questions. Nate Parks, obviously, any higher competition questions, Dave. So hopefully that can kind of answer some questions if you're ever wondering, I want to know about NERSA, who do I contact? That's going to be Dave. Someone reached out in my community, reached out about starting unified stuff at their school. You would reach out to Steph Hansen. And then this is a new, also, if you want to use it, if you don't, just a nice form if you have paperwork to submit and don't want to send it through an email. I know sometimes the emails can get too big for, let me just make this a little smaller. Sometimes the file sizes can get too big, but this one, if you fill it out, if I'm Taylor and I'm submitting paperwork for my team, you can let us know who you're submitting paperwork for, if it's an athlete, unified partner, coach, all of it. When you submitted it, that again will just help us track better when paperwork is getting turned in. And so that if you guys have any questions, we can go back and look. And then again, put your name and email so that we can reach out to you if we have any questions about the paperwork that was submitted. And then all you have to do is just drag and drop the paperwork into that form. You can send a copy to yourself so that you know it got sent. And it will just send you everything you filled out up here in an email and then submit, and then you've submitted paperwork. Then down here, hopefully this will be, you guys can utilize this for these meetings specifically, where this is we'll always display the most recent leadership video or meeting that we had. Obviously, August's did not record, so we have July's up. And then you can see up here in this right-hand corner how it says 1 out of 11. that is just all of the other leadership videos that we've done. So you can scroll through our library of those and find any other ones if you have questions about Big Red Raffle, Polar Plunge, fundraising in your community, how to fill out a registration, succession planning, any of those. You can find them up here too. And then this is also where, and these are up to date. So any of the links to join these meetings are going to be right here. So when we have next month's meeting, if you want to join and you can't find it in your email, you can go back and go into the coach's dashboard and click on October's. Hold on, I have to let some people in. And then any fundraising stuff that again was in the coaches portal. So right now, most relevant is our Big Red Raffle, all that same information. If you have questions about it, if you need to request more tickets for your team, you can do it using the form right here without leaving the website. And then here's that ticket reporting form that you all turn in. Still says Google's, but we will get that changed. It's now Gina, I believe. And then any logo and branding, we're still working with Amanda on getting some logos put in here that you guys can use for your uniforms, flyers, social media, anything like that. And then all those same forms. So the authorization form, logo, or the branding guidelines presentation, if you need a refresher on the appropriate use of our logo and any guidelines that need to be followed when using it, you can go to the PowerPoint. So it doesn't look like there's a lot of information, but it's basically all the information that is currently in the coaches portal. Just, I hope it seems a little more straightforward and user-friendly. Sorry. Dave asked if you just need to submit an updated medical, can you create a separate link that just asks a couple basic questions, name, delegation, and let them upload the medical without having to re-enter all the data? Yeah. So that, hope this will answer your question. So this is a form. If they just want to submit their paperwork on their own, you can always send them this. I'll have the link for this. This is just I can include a link for it below it, so then you can send that to people and they can just fill out their paperwork through this submit paperwork form. Does that answer your question, Dave? So on the website, it's linked in the, currently it's still linked in the portal. So when you go into that coaches portal, up here at the top, welcome coaches dashboard, you can see it. I was going to suggest, and this is what I do, I have multiple dashboards that I have to go through for SONA and other sports like Special Olympics trainings and stuff. So what will make it easier to access if everybody is able. So once you go into it the first time through the coaches portal, once you open it, if you just click, I'm sure a lot of you know, but just bookmark it to the top of your search bar up here. So just if you don't have the star, there's always usually 3 buttons or 3 little dots over here, and you can just bookmark it. Bookmark this tab and then just name it whatever is going to be easiest for you to recognize it. So Sony Coaches Dashboard, done. And now if I close out of it.
Taylor, we can't see your screen.
Oh, I don't know when that stopped. All right. Where did I lose everyone? Sorry about that. So let me go back into our coaches portal. So again, in the portal, right under the welcome, you'll see coach's dashboard. Once you have it open, if you want to, let's unbookmark it. I already have it bookmarked, but either you can hit this star, or there's usually 3 little buttons off to the side. If you click on it and go down, there's bookmarks. I'm going to bookmark this tab. Again, save it as whatever is going to be easiest for you to recognize it up at the top of your screen. When you open your search engine, and then mine is, so if I close out of that, I'm still sharing my screen. If I open a new tab, I can just go coach's dashboard. I see it up at the top. And so then you have easy access to just always open it and see all the information that we have posted. Yes, sorry, I was not sharing my screen. Do we have any questions about that or any feedback, thoughts? Does it seem like something you would use instead of going through the coaches portal? Does it seem more confusing? Thanks, Dave. So he said the ticket report form isn't working. I don't know what that issue would be, but I'll see later if I can figure out why you're not able to access it, Dave. I'm not sure why. So no, it asks me to log into it. What's EdMet? Is that Microsoft? Sorry, Dave. It shouldn't require you to log into anything when you click. It should just be easy access to open it. That might be got a pop-up asking me to sign in. Well, I will do some digging and figure out why that's asking that. It shouldn't need it, but I'm hoping, unless we keep having issues like that, I'm hoping this makes it easier. Wants me to log into Microsoft. Okay. All right. So it looks like I think I know what the issue is, but I will make sure when I go back to the office tomorrow to fix it. It's hard sometimes to test these things out because everybody that understands it and can test it is a part of Special Olympics Nebraska. So they have easy access to everything. Okay. Okay. So we'll get that solved. Phone asks, sometimes love technology. Okay. So if you guys want to just look around in it, I know some people are having issues, some people aren't. Not fully sure what's going on, but I'll hopefully get those figured out tomorrow morning when I follow up with all of this information again tomorrow. I can let you know if we got the issue resolved. So then all of this information again will still be in the dashboard, and then it will be in the coaches portal as well. Just really been focusing on the dashboard lately, so we'll get all that stuff updated in the portal. And then the last thing I think we were gonna share was just missing paperwork reports. Those should be out tomorrow. We have all of it pulled and up. We're just kind of, again, I know a lot of the feedback with the missing paperwork reports is they're kind of hard to keep as up to date as possible, just with I think it's always assumed or under the impression that when sorry, some people have some questions. That's right, we have it on the phone to open the sheets. Did you answer the question on the flyers on the dashboard? Yes. So in the dashboard, the flyers are going to be right here under all of the required paperwork. So these are the 3 that we currently have created, and then we'll get a UCS one added as well. And we might also be adding a young athletes one to kind of give people a better idea of what goes on for a young athletes camp and how to become a young athlete. Okay. All right. So the missing paperwork, I don't know now. Okay. So yeah, the signing in, I will get that figured out tomorrow. If I'm glad people are messing around in it and trying to get it figured out and get familiar with it. I'll definitely get that figured out tomorrow, why it's asking some people to sign in. It definitely shouldn't, but I will figure that out. So then hopefully tomorrow everything will just easily open and download for you. So missing paperwork reports, I think they should for sure be out tomorrow. We were looking at using potentially this same program, Smartsheets, that the dashboard is in, to update missing paperwork reports. But kind of now with everybody having these issues, I don't know if I want to dive too much into it, just because I don't want it to not work for you guys. But those will be up tomorrow. And kind of one thing I think we might try and do, if you guys, I know they're confusing. One thing I did have a question on is, would you find it easier as coaches if we combined the athlete and unified partner and coaches missing paperwork report into one form, so that you're not going between 2 forms to figure out who on your team is active and inactive? And if it's easier to just have everybody on one instead of separating it between inactive and active. Before we kind of finalize those reports, we just wanted to get some feedback to know if it's still makes sense to keep separating them how we do. Okay, please keep them separate. That's good to know. Just didn't know, you guys are the coaches. You're the ones having to manage all of those people and look at it. So want to make sure however is going to be easiest for you, then we can do that. It honestly, too, it might not be a huge lift on our part to do it both ways, because we already separate them. So before we separate them, to save them and offer it as a combined team report, and then to separate them as the athlete, unified partner, coaches one. But we can try doing it both ways this time, since we have all the information already, and get them put together tomorrow and see how people like them. And maybe for our next meeting next month, we can get some feedback on what you guys prefer, or if you guys used a new way.
Taylor?
Mhm.
Taylor?
Yeah.
I got a question.
Yes.
It's always kind of confusing because athletes are participating on different teams. And so it is kind of easy sometimes to miss athletes if they're not under your delegation. Is there a way, if that athlete is competing on your team for a competition, regional, state, is there any way then that they could be listed under your delegation? So whether it be basketball, bowling, swimming, because they're all over the pages. It would be
Mhm.
really helpful as HOD and coach to have it centralized if there's a way to do that. Whatever
Yeah.
they're competing on, they should be able to show up under that team.
Yeah, and that's one thing that's always a struggle. It makes perfect sense to be able to do that. It's just getting it out of our system that way, because then it's very hard to like organize and kind of figure out. But we can definitely play around with it and
But,
see
yeah.
what we can do. Because yeah, I know like for some teams, especially like the Omaha Tennis Buddies, who only does tennis, so then then their athletes compete with multiple different teams throughout the year, but when they're trying to just do tennis stuff to figure out who's active and not, it gets a little confusing. So nope, totally understand that, and we can try and see what we can do.
Okay, it'd be
It
great. If you
just
could, may take a while,
yeah.
but to figure it out, it would be helpful. Would be.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, and that's a great, Abby asked, could it be one document but separate tabs? So, and that could be something, instead of having all the different Excels. I don't know how familiar everybody is with the tabs at the bottom. That's usually how you're tell the difference between who's active, and then flip to the inactive tab on the bottom and see everybody who's inactive. So we could just have an East missing paperwork report and have the tabs at the bottom that say active athletes, inactive athletes, active partners and coaches, inactive partners and coaches. That way you're not having two separate Excel documents that you have to manage. It's just one document with multiple tabs at the bottom. So that might be something that would be an easy lift for us to do, to kind of consolidate where all of your information is. Sorry, I'm just seeing if I missed any other questions in the chat before we move on. Emma's probably wanting to kill me because we worked on missing paperwork reports this week, but and putting them into smart sheets and stuff, but I just don't want to kind of mess around with it if they're not working for everybody and they're being difficult. So, but we'll have those up by end of day tomorrow, the updated missing paperwork reports for athletes, unified partners, and coaches. Yes.
One more question Pam had put in there earlier about what COVID forms are still required.
Yep, it is just the COVID waiver.
Just the waiver only.
So yes, just that release of liability waiver for COVID.
Okay.
That is the only one, yep, that's still being required.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Do you have any other questions? What I might do real quick, just because I know we have people on, and just go over, I can share my screen again and go over the missing paperwork report and just a little better of how to read it and what everything means, in case people forgot, or I know it can be a bit confusing. So everybody can see this missing paperwork report. So as always, yellow means it's expired. So we have one on file, but it expired. This one expired 3 days ago. Green, we kind of added it in there, and we'll add a key to this, but green means they signed it. I know the consent expiration or sign date is confusing, but they signed it and it's good. It just hasn't expired. But this red means we don't have anything on file. These were signed. Yellow, yep. So yellow expired, red missing, green means they're good and they don't need to worry about doing consent. I know when people look at the consent on the athlete, it gets confusing because they don't have a date, but they're still good technically. So that just means green, good. You can always filter by your group. So we'll have it filtered. We'll have this already on there when we send it out tomorrow, but you can always go up to this little down arrow on the sheet and say, I just want to see Bennington Badgers. I click OK, and my athletes pop up. If I want to see Blair, I click, their athletes pop up. So you can always search that way. I know it doesn't completely solve the problem of people being on multiple delegations. But if you are looking for someone on your team, most computers, if you control F, it'll pop up a find or replace. So you can find someone based on their last name. So I can find next, or if you go find all, you can see everybody with that name, and it will take you. If I was looking for Matt Hoffman, there he is. I can see he's good. If I was looking for someone else, James Hoffman, he's good too. So an option to kind of help you search throughout the document without having to scroll and try and figure out what team everybody's on. I know they can be, again, daunting and confusing, but we sort it by last name, so it should always be first by group and then by last. They should be alphabetical by last name. Again, these aren't because these aren't fully ready, but they'll be ready to go out tomorrow. So if there's any information that you see that you're like, oh, I know I turned in his medical a week ago or something, if you want to bold it, highlight it, something, send it back to us and just let us know, and then we can look into that. I know it happens. We try not to misenter or lose paperwork, but it's bound to happen with 4,000 athletes and competitions and new employees and all the events that we got going on. So just always let us know as soon as you look at the missing paperwork report if something doesn't seem right, and we'll figure it out and get it sorted. Do we have any questions? Nope, nothing else in the chat. All right, so if no one has any questions or okay. Oh, show again how to search for an athlete. Did someone? Yes, okay. Yes, so someone's asking about the competition calendar, basically, and to show how to search for an athlete again. So I'll get my screen back up and sharing. So for the missing paperwork report, if you don't see, if I'm the Barracudas coach and I know that that Nick Wright is going to be swimming with me, but I don't see him listed with my team, you would just control on your keyboard, so that control button and then the F. So control F means find. So find all. I would do right. And then below here, you can always expand the find all. There we go. So find all the rights. So I can click through these until I see, oh, he is my second one, but I could click through all of these until I find the one that I'm looking for. And I see it highlights over here which one it is. So I see Nick Wright. And that's how I would, and you can do that also for when you start registering people, but this is how I would find him to just make sure he's good on his paperwork and I don't need to worry about him. If it helps, you can always copy the entire cell and paste it into your team so that when you're looking at it, that's what you see. But because once you download it onto your computer, it's yours to manipulate. You can honestly, if you're looking at a missing paperwork report, if you wanted to delete everybody on here that isn't your team, you can do that because it's yours to, it's hopefully a tool for you to use to manage the paperwork. So however best, so if I am Beetle and I don't want to see everybody else, you could delete everybody on the spreadsheet that isn't participating with me in a year. And somebody asked about the calendar of knowing when to do practices and everything. So this is our, I'll download it to, so it's in the dashboard, but I can show you also it's in the coaches portal. When I go over here, so this under games and competition, this competition calendar, you'll see a UCS competition calendar and a Sony competition calendar. I'll open that. And Dave does our competition calendar, and he has a color-coded system that really only makes sense to him. But so this is what ours looks like, but you can see that on right now on Sunday, January 8th, we have regional bowling in Lincoln for the East Central. You can see the Omaha regional is at Maplewood Lanes on January 21st. Basketball regional for the West is on the 4th. And then bowling and Kearney, you can see the bigger events, so spring games. So you'll want to start practicing 12 to 8 weeks before this competition. So then you can kind of plan your schedule, especially around before basketball, so that get some practices in before your registration is due for the regional competitions. It shows when summer games is going to be. So then you know how much time in between spring games and summer games you have. So this is always a good one to go off of. And then all of the major events here in the next, hopefully by the end of October, early October, we'll have them all also on the events calendar page of our website. Oops. So if I wanted to see what sports events were coming up, you can always go to here, our big calendar, and see kind of what's coming up month to month.
Sorry to
hope
interrupt.
that-
That one has all the 2022 dates for the 2023 calendar. Is it possible to know when the 2024 calendar is coming out? So that way we can be planning this year's practices.
Yes, I think. Emma, have you heard Dave say anything about the 2024 calendar?
Oh, not yet. I'm sure he's working on it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know we were able to schedule all of our state events. I think he's just waiting. We had a meeting about a month ago, just trying to finalize locations and stuff for our regional competitions, and when and where those are going to be. But I can definitely ask him and put it in my follow-up email tomorrow about when 2024 will be out. It's usually a good rule of thumb. I know they're not the exact same dates, but for our big state competitions, they usually fall on those same weekends. So the last weekend of March, first weekend of April is going to be spring games. Middle of May is going to be our summer. First weekend of August is going to be fall. And then middle to end of October is going to be that unified bowling and flag football and soccer.
this is Sabrina. I think he really wants to know about January since we have to start planning and practicing for bowling before competition in January. We just don't know when it is.
Yeah, I don't know if we know when it is either. Because that's for. Are you West Central, Sabrina?
No, I'm east, but
No, you're east.
bowling,
You're east.
single
Yeah.
bowling, yeah, singles
Yeah.
bowling.
Um,
It's always hard to
singles
plan
bowling.
for that. For or for practice.
I'll let Dave know that that we're getting questions about 2024. No, it's people are going to start practicing here, depending on what region you're on in October, November, even. So I'll let him know. I think we have most of our dates filled out. I think we just need to get in contact with our regional directors and make sure that they have venues and dates secured for those competitions. So any other questions? Nope. Okay. Well, as always, feel free to email me. If you have any following this, this will be posted on the portal and on our YouTube and hopefully in the coaches dashboard, which will get working tomorrow. So if you guys don't have anything else, I won't keep you from Monday Night Football. I know is going on, so go watch that. And thanks for joining. We'll see you soon. Have a good night.